Hey there, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Scabbard. Man, I tell you what, this team is very hard to watch right now. I'm trying to find my captions. There we go. Take that caption off for the Jacksonville Icemen. Well, I tell you what, probably the most interesting thing that happened in the first period of the Sabres game against the Colorado Avalanche was probably the intermission when they asked Henrik Lundqvist, who a lot of Sabres fans shared his sentiments at the end of last season, where he said he was very high on the Buffalo Sabres, thought that they were a team to look out for, liked what they were building. Different tune on Wednesday night, where the Sabres it took them, the stat of the night is 18 plus minutes. I think it was 18 and a half minutes before they got their first shot on goal, which oddly resulted in a goal and gave the Sabres a little bit of life going into the first period, a period in which they had no business being anywhere near being competitive in that game. It was awful, but his thoughts were kind of what we're seeing, that the Sabres have not made a transition from being a team that is learning how to play in the NHL to, as a, very young team. And they're still one of the youngest teams in the NHL, but this is by choice. Kevin Adams did not do a whole lot to add age to this group. Yes, he brought Eric Johnson in. We can talk about the Eric Johnson effect on the game the other night. But we lost Craig Anderson, so the aggregate age of the group went down. But they haven't made the transition from being a team that's learning how to play hockey or learning to win as a team. And he said the thing that they're lacking right now is accountability. And we saw it in the first period. There was that, it's 1-0 already. JJ Peterka has 3 opportunities to get the puck out of the zone, and he fans pretty much on all 3. Makes the wrong decision on all 3. I tell you what, in the days of an old school coach, what you would see is that JJ Peterka, as much as I love JJ Peterka, I think he is going to be a fabulous second line winger for the Sabres for years to come. But an old school coach would have stapled him to the bench. And a team that is competing for the playoffs, that tells you that they're competing for the playoffs, can't just still be learning on the fly. There has to be some kind of accountability so that when you do things like that, you're not rewarded with more ice time. And yeah, I get it. JJ Peterka is one of our top goal scorers, but that puts us down 2-0. And we can talk about the rest of the game. Probably the worst period of hockey I've ever seen this team play. And that's talking about going through the dark years of the 1, 2, and 3 rebuilds. Even the dark years of Ralph Kruger and that 18-game losing streak. That was probably the worst period I've seen them play. Miracle of miracles, they get a goal at the end of the period. But to go 18 plus minutes and not have a shot on goal is inexcusable at this level. You can't do that. And yes, Colorado is a quality team, but they proved, a little bit over a month ago that they could beat this team. And they did it by getting out early and skating strong and being direct with their play. Look, we've seen it from this team. They're able to raise their level of play against, fairly decent competition. They did against the Bruins. They did against the Rangers. And how did they do it? They skated directly. They took the puck to the opposition. They played on the front foot. But we continue to see them backslide. Not just, they play 5 great games and then they backslide for a couple games. No, they play a couple great games and then they backslide for 3 games. And that's part of the frustration. I don't think that this team is going to make the playoffs. I really, at this point, I just don't see. I don't think that Jack Quinn coming back in the lineup is going to make this team a Stanley Cup playoff contender. Just to get the 8th seed. I don't think that Quinn, who's a solid player, who's going to be a really good player, is enough to put them over the top. If that's what we're waiting for, that we're in for a rude, painful surprise when he comes back into the lineup. There are a lot of concerning things that we saw in that game. Peterka being brutal in the second goal. Jeff's, we actually had a semi-decent second period. We actually took the lead in shots, despite being outshot. I think the first 15 shots of the game went to Colorado. We ended up catching up to them, actually passing them for a good period of the second and third periods. We were ahead of them in shots. I had, they played semi-decently. And then Jeff Skinner gets absolutely wrecked. And people didn't even look at Nathan MacKinnon. Like he turned around. I think he was expecting something to someone to come his way. It was a clean hit. I'm not going to complain about the hit itself, but the fact that no one even skated toward. I think the rest of the shift, MacKinnon didn't even get touched. Nobody skated up to him and say, just to give him a bump. There was nothing. Honestly, if I'm Jeff Skinner, that's something I would, okay, this team is not going to stick up for me. It's time to move on. And requesting a trade level of just absolute disrespect from his teammates. And I hope that, his long-term prognosis on the injury is good. He won't be out too long. But yeah, it's just frustrating to see when a guy gets checked. And yes, it was a clean check. And yeah, I don't want somebody to fight over it, but I want somebody to, at least bump into Nathan MacKinnon, make him sweat a little bit on that moment. He turned around like, wow, okay, and then just skated off. Here's a problem I'm having with Don Granato specifically is we've seen several times in this season where the Sabres come out flat They're down 2-0, and there's nothing in that lineup right now. For most of that first period, it looked like the Sabres were playing with 4 players on the ice. They just couldn't get anything going. They were outplayed, outworked in every inch of the ice. And that's not the first time that's happened this season. We've seen it several times before. Um, why not call a timeout? Yes, I understand that there are points in the game where you might need that timeout to be able to challenge a goal. But if you're down 3 goals, that challenge means nothing. Like, oh wow, well, we can challenge a goal that gives them a four goal lead. Who cares? Call the timeout. Get these guys over the bench. And yeah, I know that's not his style to publicly shame the team. You don't have to shame the team. You call the timeout, bring them over, and let the leaders of the team do the thing. And he's not doing that. And the time for learning this game and being the gentle teacher is over. You've got to stop that, or you're going to be updating your resume. Um, if not now, at least at the end of the season. I just don't, if they miss the playoffs and they just fold towards the end of the season, because like games like that, we've seen them respond. I wouldn't be surprised if they win tonight's game, because we've seen them respond to pathetic efforts like the New Jersey game, and some of these other games where they've lost. They've come back and they played really good teams, and you're like, there's no way they're going to win this game, and then they come back and they play a fantastic game. It's all about replication. They're not doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win tonight. There's extra motivation with being Jack Eichel and all that stuff. At some point, we've just got to start putting that to bed as a franchise. Just Jack Eichel's another player in the league now. He's got a Stanley Cup. This manufactured rivalry with the Vegas Golden Knights does nothing for us. We've got to move on and not let that continue to be this thing hanging over the franchise. We should have, when the first game after Eichel came back, when we won, that should have been the end of it. Just walk away and next time Eichel comes to town, or next time we play Eichel, it's like, Eichel who? We don't care. All right, and move on. But yeah, it's just so frustrating watching this team right now, and I'm not hopeful at all. Last year I was like, my hope was that the Sabres were still in contention by the time we got to January 1st. And then once we were contention in January 1st, all right, let's see if we can get to the trade deadline. We were scuffling around the trade deadline, but we made a nice run towards the end of the season. We were in it till the very end. This season, I'm not even hopeful that they're going to get past January 1st. Yeah, we're ahead of the Ottawa Senators, but remember, the Senators have like 6 or 7 games in hand on us. By all rights, by all points percentage, we should be the last place team in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, sorry, I did not turn on the comments. Heidi, yeah, that's it. They're not the team. The level of team that they have right now is not where it needs to be. Again, you don't have to fight them, but at least make them work. Make them think that something might happen. Give them a little bit of scare, something like that. There was no response, and this is a guy that's leading your team in goals. With Peterka. So why are you just skating away and not doing anything for your teammate? That's pathetic. And let me get to my. What's up, Mr. Miller? How you doing? At what point do we punt the season away? It's coming close, man. I will tell you that. Yeah, the Knights would have gone postal. The playoff teams would have gone postal, even to the extreme point. But again, you don't have to fight. Just make them work. Just make them sweat a little bit. But yeah, we're getting very close to the point where we just punt the season. And I know a lot of people are like, clear house, get rid of Adams, get rid of Granato. I'm not happy with Granato. I think he has not made that transition to being a coach that coaches a team that is poised to make the playoffs. I think he's still in this educator mode. and that time is past. And if he can't adjust, then yes, we need to move on from him. Who do we bring in? I don't know. I mean, if we're going to go scorched earth, I don't know about bringing in uh, Babcock, but I would, if you want to go scorched earth, bring in Patrick Waugh. I mean, uh, let's have fun with it. Or bring in Gerard Gallant, bring in somebody, Bruce Boudreau, somebody along those lines that can take a team and get them into the playoffs, because they have not made that transition yet. So yeah, January 1st, we're still scuffling around. There's only a few games left until January 1st. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually, there's quite a few games until January 1st. It's going to give us a good. I mean, we're almost at the halfway point of the season. On January for our last game of the season, last game of the year against Ottawa on the 31st, we'll be at like 38 games, and that's absolutely, if we're not anywhere near a playoff position. Yes, January is actually a time when we could make a run. We're playing some teams that are not in playoff position, some teams that are more pretenders than contenders. You could make a run, but to really put yourself in a position to make a run, you need to finish strong the rest of this month. And I just don't see it. They may play good again against the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, and then show their ass tomorrow against the Coyotes, who they've already beaten. But they'd already beaten the Colorado Avalanche, and we saw how that went. So yeah. So let's talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. That game is coming up tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yes. I'm all screwed up with these West Coast games about what time they start. So yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. They are 25-5, not missed a beat after winning the Stanley Cup last season. They're the top team in the league by a stretch. I think by 5 points at this point. Jonathan Marchessault leads the team in goals, with Eichel leading in assists and points with 21 and 33 respectively. Aiden Hill leads the goalies with goals against average at 1.87, save percentage at 9.35, or I'm sorry, 0.935, and wins with 10. Lucky for us, and not so much lucky for him. Aiden Hill is day to day. And not playing tonight. We'll be getting Logan Thompson, who was the starter last season, at the beginning of the season for the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's talk about the Vegas Golden Knights projected lineup tonight. I know you're a Knights fan. That just makes me sad. But you give love to the Sabres, so you're cool in my book. You're cool in my book anyway, but that's cool. So the Golden Knights projected forward lines from the Daily Faceoff: Ivan Barbashev with Eichel and Stone. Deadly line: Howden with Stevenson and Marchessault. Marchessault leading the team in goals, so that's a deadly line as well. Cotter with Carlson and Amadio. Carlson's on pace for 50 goals, another deadly line. And then Carrier, Raw, and Kolesar, Keegan Kolesar. This line bangs. And if you play along the wall, like the Sabres have been known to do this season, when they're not playing well, they're going to get crunched. Yeah, I could see that. Although your Saints have won the championship, so I mean, someday, just one before I die, just one Stanley Cup before I die, please. Or I'm going to haunt every one of. I'll haunt the current owners. Our defense pairings for the Vegas Golden Knights: Braden McNabb for the former Sabre, Petrangelo, Haig with White Cloud, Hutton with Pashal. I'm not really sure who that is. But every time I say that, they end up scoring the game. So respect to Pakal or Pashal, however you say that. Goalie tandem for the Vegas Golden Knights: Logan Thompson with Patera. Aiden Hill is in the still nursing an injury, and the Golden Knights scratches: Martinez, Theodore, Hill, and Korchak. Theodore's on IR. The rest of them are day to day. Kind of decent news. I mean, as far as the defensive pairings, that you're not facing Martinez and Theodore, but they still got a lot of firepower on that back end as well with Petrangelo, and lots of grit with McNabb and the rest of the group there. Whitecloud's a pretty good scoring defenseman as well. All right, for our Sabres, so a little bit of changes from the Colorado game, of course, with Jeff Skinner being injured. They recalled Brett Murray. Brett Murray is playing on the third line, but first line is Benson, Tuck, Thompson, and Tuck. No change from the Colorado game. Middlestat moves down to Cousins and Peterka on that second line, taking Jeff Skinner's place. Then we've got Murray, Jost, and Olofsson on the either third or fourth line. It doesn't really matter. And then Robinson, Krebs, and Poso. Even that line didn't do a whole lot during. They didn't skate with purpose during the Sabres game against Colorado. Defense pairings: Eric Johnson is not in the lineup tonight. We'll draw in Ryan Johnson playing with Connor Clifton. We've got Dahlin Samuelson, Power, and Yoki Haru. It seems like that Power Samuelson pairing lasted a hot minute, and then they put everyone back. They played really well in the one game against Boston, and the Montreal game was a kind of a mixed bag. But I don't know. I would have stuck with that. Samuelson's kind of been a mixed bag this season. Yoki Haru's been a mixed bag, and I'd like to see them kind of switch up those defensive pairings. Ryan Johnson, the reason why they haven't played him in certain games is that he has not had a bunch of time on any of the specialty lines, so they've been putting him on penalty kill training. Been doing penalty kill during the morning skates and stuff like that. And I guess they feel a little bit better about his play, so they're going to have him come in. I think Eric Johnson, he had a rough night, and I think I would have taken a look at him during the morning interview, and he was very emotional about his time in Colorado. And I get that. He was there for a long time. He won a Stanley Cup there, still lives there, and they showed him nothing but love. That was great. I don't know. That was almost too emotional of a thing for him, and I don't know that he handled it well. So yeah, they're giving him the night off. He didn't look good in Colorado. He got abused on a couple of those goals. So yeah, it's good to see Ryan Johnson back in the lineup. I think Ryan Johnson should be the guy that's getting the defense to play defense and play better defense, or they get replaced by Ryan Johnson. And Ryan Johnson should just move up and down those defensive pairings as players crap out during the season. That he is that pressure on those players. Sabres goalies tonight. We're getting Devin Levi in the net for this game. Probably get UPL in for the Arizona game, but Devin Levi getting the start, coming off the win. I can't even remember who the hell they beat earlier. Oh yeah, Arizona. So yeah, getting Levi the start tonight. UPL tomorrow with the Coyotes at the Mullet, and so that's how that goes. Scratches. Greenway still day to day. Bryson. Why is Bryson still here? For God's sakes. I mean, the guy's been a healthy scratch all but 2 games this season. This is doing nothing for, if there is an injury, he's not in game shape. There's no way he can be in game shape. Yeah, he's practicing with the team, but he's been so long without a game that, I mean, honestly, they need to send him down for some kind of conditioning stint to if they're serious about doing something with him. I think they're doing him a great disservice right now. Zemgus Girgenssen's on the IR. Doesn't sound like he's very close. And a lot of people are talking about how if Robinson continues his play, that there may not be a spot for Girgenssen's coming back, which is sad. You know, he is the longest tenured Sabre. And it would have been nice to have a team that got him to the playoffs after playing all these years, wandering the playoff wilderness. Quinn is getting close. Hopefully, we'll see him by the end of the month, and then a Skinner, undetermined long uh, length of time on the IR. I'm assuming that was probably a concussion that he got. I haven't seen any reports. I really haven't been looking. I had to give myself a couple days to not look at Sabres news, because it's just so toxic on Sabres Twitter and Sabres Facebook that I just had to take a step back. Um, Let me get the latest odds because let's talk about latest odds because we are in Vegas. Let's go to DraftKings. Oh. All right, Buffalo Sabres are getting goal and a half on the road, road dogs, so they're getting a goal and a half, and the over under is 6.5. So it's very stable. 6.5. Oops, sorry, hit the camera there. 6.5 over under for the Buffalo Sabres, kind of standard for them. Also being an underdog at a goal and a half. So play responsibly. Had to make sure that that was still true. Yeah, 1.5 and 6.5. Three keys to the game tonight: developing an identity. Uh, it shouldn't take this long into the season for them to do this. They're actually going down the same road that the Toronto Maple Leafs are doing. Toronto's got much more skill and they've got much more experience, and I think they can, for lack of a better term, bullshit their way to the playoffs. The Sabres do not. Um, and there's no identity. I can't tell you what kind of team this is. Is it supposed to be an offensive team? Is it supposed to be a defensive team? Is it supposed to be freewheeling? Is it supposed to be lockdown? There's no identity to this team. It just feels like they're going through the motions right now. So the best time to start to have an identity was yesterday. But the second best time is to pick today and start developing your identity as a team. What are you going to do? What kind of will are you going to oppose? Now we've got a blueprint from some of those other games of. I actually set a day, walking record by just moving my arm like this. Interesting. But we've seen a blueprint of what works as a team: competitive, moving up and down the ice, forward, skating in the middle of the ice. Don't get trapped on the boards. Um, get the puck to the slot. Um, Seven dudes that really want to play. Uh, yeah, I somebody that wants to step up and play hard and competitive, even if they're mid. I'd rather have competitive players than very skilled guys that take games off. Start the game on time. How many times have we said that this season? Start the game on time. Be ready for puck drop. Get out there, skate forward, get into the dirty areas, score the goals, get a lead. You're phenomenal when you get a lead. 8-1-1 when you score first, and then the rest of the time we are. I think we've got one or two wins when we score second, and it's like 70% of the time we're scoring. We don't score the first goal. All right, player profile. Oh, it's compete. Yeah, we got to compete. This is just ridiculous. Um, can't have a uh, just an absolute train wreck of a period like they had against Colorado. All right, tonight's player profile is Brett Murray. I was going to feature him last time, but he got sent down. But he's back up in the wake of the Skinner injury. Brett Murray is a 6'5" winger, left wing. Played for the Rochester Americans. He's went to Penn State University, played 2 seasons for Terry Pagula's college alma mater. Didn't do a whole lot. I mean, he only had in the 33 games he played for the Penn State Nittany Lions, he had um, 1 goal and 6 assists for 7 points and 27 penalty minutes. Um, so not a terrible amount of production. He comes and plays a season after that with the Youngstown Phantoms of the USHL. Does pretty well in that league. He has 76 points in 62 games, which is kind of reversed. Usually, and he did play for the Youngstown Phantoms before he went to Penn State. Usually, you play your USHL and then you go to college he did USHL college and then went back to the USHL for a season, and that wasn't even COVID related. That was 2018, 2019. Signs with the Buffalo Sabres. Um, he was drafted 99th overall in 2016. Um, I'm venturing to say that is the fourth round back then. So, a fourth round draft pick, and signed a 1 year AHL contract in 2019 2020. Played with the Americans for 55 games that first season, got 24 points. 27 games the next season, the COVID impacted season, 20 points in 27 games. Um, got a cup of coffee with the Buffalo Sabres. He played two games with the Buffalo Sabres, and then we didn't see him for a couple of years. Played last season in Rochester. Had 15 goals, 17 assists, 32 points, 35 penalty minutes, and let's see. Oh no, he did get a little bit of time with the Sabres last season. 19 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, and 6 points. And oh yeah, that was 21-22. So that was the last time we saw Brett Murray. Then last season he spent all season in Rochester, 23 goals, 26 assists, and 49 points, and then chipped in another 10 points in 14 playoff games as they ran to the Eastern Conference Finals against Hershey and lost that series. So. Tall winger, seems to have at least a little bit of scoring ability, but does seem more of a third line presence, third or fourth line presence in the NHL level. If he sticks in the NHL level, there's just so many players at the only so many players that the Sabres can put into the lineup, and I think once some of these other guys start really earning their stripes and the Sabres actually give them a legit chance, like Roseanne, Kulik, then there may be no room at the end for Mr. Murray going beyond this season. All right, on this date, December 15th, 1977, Gilbert Perreault puts up a goal in each period as the Sabres beat the Blues 7-4. It was the first of 4 Perreault hat tricks in that 77-78 season. He was a beast. So, on the farm, Rochester. Let me check out the score. All right. We're in overtime. Rochester, Hartford. They're playing the Hartford Wolfpack, the top farm club of the New York Rangers. It's 2-2 in overtime, and I guess play stopped for a minute. Okay, just making sure that the goal had not just been scored. So. Can't see. Well, yeah. I mean, at some point we've got layers of prospects. I'm not going to give up on Roseanne just yet, but I do think that if we get a package for a very serviceable, experienced winger or center, actually a center that can actually win faceoffs, I don't have a problem putting Roseanne up, and then. We've got guys like Matt Savoy. We got, Zach Benson. That's the funny thing. This season, Zach Benson's been our most consistent, best player almost every night. And that can't be. You can't have a 18-year-old being your best player. A D-man to pair with power, that would be good. I wouldn't complain too much about that, but I do think you need a guy that's going to be able to take a key face off at in the defensive zone towards the end of the game. You're holding on to a lead. You got to be able to have some guy that you can send over the board that is going to be very competitive on the face off. And it seems like we do okay at the beginning of the game, and then we just get shut down as the game as the big face offs get taken. But yeah, so the Amerks are 11-7-2-1. Your AHL with the different designations for a overtime versus a shootout loss. makes the standings a little hard to get through. But they're third in the AHL North right now. They fell to Springfield last time that they were out on Wednesday, 4-3 in a shootout. So that's why they got that one at the end of their record. They are playing the Hartford Wolfpack as we speak. Oh, and they very nice. The Amerks have won. Unofficial results, but let's see if we can get the goal scorer. Yuri Kulik got the goal from Brandon Byro and Isaac Roseanne. So the interesting thing is this weekend is the last time we'll see Yuri Kulik in Rochester for a little bit. He is being loaned to the Czech national team for the World Junior Championships, which unless he asked to do it, I don't know. I'd rather him play the AHL and continue to develop his game there. But he might get a bounce. He got a bounce last year when he came out of the World Juniors. He might get another bounce, another development bump out of that. But I think right now the World Juniors is actually a competition that's below him. But Yuri Kulik, very nice goal there. And who got the other goal? Brandon Byro got the first goal for the Amerks. Oh wow, Yuri Kulik got the game tying goal. So he got the game tying and game winning goal tonight. So 2 goals for Yuri Kulik. I don't know. I almost would rather have Kulik come out than Brett Murray with your top goal scorer going down. This is a time that Yuri Kulik can kind of put up and shut up that is saying, whether he should be up with the big club. I don't think he's gotten really a fair shake to be able to say that. I know there's some, knocks about him being a sub 20-year-old getting up in the lineup, but hell, we got Zach Benson, who's been our best player so far this season. On the farm, Jacksonville, in fact, I need to check the ECHL. So the Icemen are 12-8-2, third in the ACHL Eastern Conference South Division. They beat Savannah, which is the Vegas Golden Knights ECHL affiliate, 5-4 on Thursday, and they're playing Atlanta tonight. And let's see if I can get a score update from that game. It is 2-2 in the third period. Jacksonville is tied with Atlanta. They're playing in Atlanta, so by the end of tonight's game, you should be able to get a read on whether Jacksonville won their ECHL game. The week ahead, tomorrow night, we have back-to-back. We're playing in Arizona, taking on the Coyotes, who we beat on Monday. Hopefully, we can beat them twice in a week. Then you got Columbus. Should be a winnable game, but we always have problems with Columbus, except for that game last season where we scored, Tage Thompson scored 5 goals. We seem to always have issues with Columbus. And then Toronto, we played really well against Toronto the first game this season, so they're going to be coming to bear, and probably 90% of the arena is going to be Toronto Maple Leaf fans, which will suck. But I get why Sabres fans sell to Leaf fans because they make a lot of money. And it's still cheaper than going to the Air Canada Center, or whatever they call it now. Next episode is tomorrow. It's 8 p.m. The game is at 9, so 8 p.m. for the show tomorrow night. And that is it for the show tonight. I really appreciate everybody commenting. James, Heidi, I really appreciate it. Makes the show go by really quickly and a lot of fun. Thanks to those watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. I really appreciate it. I don't know if I got people watching on Twitter that they don't send numbers over to us. But if you are, thank you. I appreciate it. And again, join us tomorrow night as we talk about this game coming up. And hopefully the Sabres can play well tonight. Don't embarrass us, please. Maybe take a win. You've done it against other really good teams this season. You can try and do it again, and try and forge an identity this year. With this game. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you all tomorrow night.